safety in our community. And whereas, despite concerted efforts, there are 5 gun deaths in the city of Bellingham. There were 5 gun deaths in the city of Bellingham in 2022. And whereas June 23rd, in June of 2023, this month, would have marked the 26th birthday of Havilah Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. And whereas, to help honor Havilah and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless others who are wounded by gun violence every day, June 2nd, 2023 has been designated as the 9th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Havilah's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, they chose this color because hunters wear orange to protect themselves and others. And orange is a color that has been embraced by the gun safety movement because it symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange on June 2nd through the 4th, and commemorating National Gun Violence Awareness Day, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives lost by gun violence. Now, therefore, do I, Seth Fleetwood, Mayor of the City of Bellingham, proclaim June 2nd, 2023 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day, signed by me May 31st here in the City of Bellingham. I hope this effort plays some small role with all of you in preventing the tragic effects of gun violence and honors and values human life. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much for signing that proclamation. I was going to explain what Wear Orange is, but I think that the proclamation pretty much explains that. Why are we here today? We're here to honor Havilah, but also we're here to honor the 40,000 Americans who are shot and killed every day in our country, and the 80,000 more who are like me, who are shot but survive. Gun violence, we read about it, we see about it on the news every day. Usually it's a mass shooting, but gun violence is way more personal than that. The number one killer is suicide. And gun violence is a racial justice issue. In our country, you are 17 times more likely to be shot if you're a Black American than you are if you're a white American. Our next speaker today comes to Whatcom County from, what city are you from? I'm sorry.
St. Louis.
From St. Louis, Missouri. He is the chief of police in Blaine, Washington right now. He brings to that job a perspective that maybe some of us don't have here in Whatcom County. He was called to hundreds of gun shootings in the city that he came from. And today, he brings that, along with the work that he does here in Whatcom County, on the board for Whatcom Dispute Resolution Center, the Alternatives to Incarceration Task Force, and the Racial Equity Commission. He's going to bring all of that to his race for Whatcom County Sheriff. Will you please honor, with your claps and your applause, Chief Donnell Tanksley.
Thank you, Liz. It's an honor to be here. When Liz asked me to come today and speak, of course I didn't hesitate. It's an honor because gun violence is personal, and it's personal to me. Prentice Tanksley, U.S. Army veteran. Marcello Tanksley, U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Ricardo Swait, Randy Tanksley, U.S. Navy veteran. Charles Barfield. I'm sure you have never heard those names before. I am fairly sure you have never met them. These are the names of my relatives that were killed by gun violence. Prentice Tanksley, the first name I read, is my grandfather, who was shot to death in St. Louis on May 2nd, 1970. I was 2 years old. Randy Tanksley is my cousin. He and his girlfriend were shot together in St. Louis on April 24th, 1998. Had about 5 years as a police officer in St. Louis and heard about this incident while I was on duty. Gun violence does not discriminate and impacts families all across America, from rural farming areas to large cities, suburban neighborhoods, and small towns. I know firsthand how it affects families forever. This is a national health crisis, and it has been for a long time, too long. Throughout my 30 years of law enforcement, I've seen too many victims of homicides and suicides. I've responded to over 300 homicides and or suicides in my career. That's one stat I would love to change. I vividly recall one summer night while working the night shift in St. Louis, I received a call for shots fired, and the person was possibly shot, but he had left that location in a car. A few minutes later, I located the young black man, maybe 19 or 20. His car was stopped on a busy urban roadway 2 blocks from a hospital. He was shot, and it was bad. I radioed my location and his condition. He was in and out of consciousness. I tried to help him as much as I could till the paramedics arrived. He didn't make it. Another life lost to gun violence. I didn't know him, but I did know his family. According to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, women in the U.S. are 6 times more likely to be shot and killed than women in other developed countries. Black Americans, as Liz said, are killed at an extraordinary rate higher than any other Americans. Firearms are the second leading cause of death for American children and teens. LGBTQ hate crimes are on the rise. A young Native American commits suicide with a gun every 6 days in the U.S. We can reduce gun violence through education, partnerships, advocating for common sense, responsible measures. A few weeks ago, my wife and I, we watched a documentary about a mass shooting which happened just a little bit over a year ago in Uvalde, Texas. This documentary, they interviewed the parents and some of the teachers and some of the kids. I consider myself to be a strong person. I cried. It was hurtful. I could feel their pain, the parents, the students. I still do feel their pain. I could see the heartbreak. I could see the devastation. I could also see the fierce drive and undisputed determination of systematic change that we all need to reduce gun violence and to save lives.
Yes.
Today, tomorrow, and thereafter, I stand with all of you to support ways to reduce gun violence. Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
And now, I want you all to welcome one of the most beautiful and powerful voices injustice today, Havilah.
Thank you so much. This is a huge honor to be invited here today to sing for you. I'm an educator as well as a musician, and I can't tell you how tired I am of having conversations with my students about what to do if an intruder were to come into our classroom. So I thank the leadership that's here today for using your position and your platform for putting an end to this violence. This is a song called Blood and Bone. It's a long way down to the bottom of this cauldron, burning through the shadowlands. I've been stumbling and turning. On bended knee I've prayed to any God who listened, throwing stones up to the heavens for a signal, for a sign that you are a child. You are not alone, you are wild, beyond blood and bone. And there are no answers to this tangled nest of questions. They live inside till the pain subsides, unraveling to rays of light. Love is not the danger, it's the lack of hope, the grip of fear. We hide behind distraction and ignore the open door that you are a child. You are not alone, you are wild, beyond blood and bone. You are a child, you are not alone. You are wild, beyond blood and bone. Blood and bone, blood and bone.
Thank you, Havilah. That was beautiful. Gun violence is the #1 killer of children in our country. I'm just going to repeat that one more time. Gun violence is the #1 killer of children in the United States of America. We're raising up a whole generation of children who have grown up under that horrible reality. We've also made these children experience systematic trauma in their schools with active shooter drills. Active shooter drills where they're taught to run. And if you can't run, hide. And if you can't hide, fight. Today, we have a member of the youth to come and speak to us. She's a student at Western Washington University and in the Students Demand Action Group. Will you please welcome, oh Lily, I didn't ask you how to pronounce your last name, Lily VanMullem?
Good job.
Hey.
Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Wear Orange event today. As Liz said, my name is Lily and I use she, her pronouns. I am a leader of the Western Washington University Students Demand Action chapter. In case you don't know, Students Demand Action is a national gun violence prevention organization fueled by students. From me and the WW Students Demand Action chapter, thank you to Liz for inviting us today, Thank you to the Bellingham Wear Orange event organizers, and thank you all for being here. We wear orange to honor Havilah Pendleton, who was shot and killed on a playground in Chicago in 2013. She was just 15 years old. We wear orange to honor the 43,000 lives lost to gun violence and the 76,000 more shot and wounded every year. For my time today, I would like to remind us of the lives impacted by gun violence that don't make the headlines. First, let me tell you my story. My first day of 7th grade was my first day of middle school. Do you all remember your first day of middle school? The nerves, the uncertainty, the hope. On the schedule for that day was seeing my classmates from 6th grade and meeting new students from around my town and my new teachers, seeing the new space that we were going to learn in for the next 3 years. Then came our lunch period. A teacher found a message written in lipstick in the cafeteria bathroom that read something like this: "I have left a bomb in the school." On the first day of 7th grade, my middle school evacuated to the football field because we thought there might be a bomb. As I sat with my friends on the bleachers, the sun beat down on our heads, and we whispered to each other, "Can my parents pick me up so that I can skip class? Is this even real? What if the bomber was smart enough to leave the bomb under these bleachers?" You see, this was not the first bomb that the middle school had received, first bomb threat that the middle school had received. It was my first bomb threat, but the small town in Idaho that I am from already had a plan in place on how to handle bomb threats at our public schools. The police and firefighters came to search the campus, and they found nothing. But that was not the last threat that I have lived through. In high school, I hunkered against a wall during a lockdown. Our principal had received notice that there was going to be a potential school shooting that day. It turns out that the threat had come from Florida and had been passed through Snapchat stories telephone style. No one arrived at school with a gun that day, but the fear that me and my classmates felt was real. The gun violence crisis in America fosters a culture of anxiety. After living through many lockdowns, I came to expect them. Every time I enter a room, I take notice of where the exits are. When I walk around campus, I am nervous that my classmates might have a gun in their backpack. This is the unseen impact of gun violence. News coverage often focuses on the lives lost, but I think we forget to talk about the students that survived these school shootings, the children left with the trauma of losing a classmate or a teacher. We forget the family members of these students who must grapple with a child who doesn't want to go back to school. We forget about teachers, bank tellers, grocery shoppers, churchgoers, and we forget those lost to suicide. The issue of suicide is close to my heart. I've almost lost 3 friends to suicide in the last 3 years. 76% of all firearm deaths in Washington state are from suicides. This is unacceptable. We need to fund and staff mental health support for students and our communities. As we celebrate Pride Month, it is important to acknowledge and understand that queer people, especially queer youth, are uniquely impacted by suicidality. According to the Trevor Project's 2022 National Youth Survey, 41% of LGBTQ youth in Washington seriously considered suicide in the past year, and 12% attempted suicide. Secondly, safe storage is vital. Safe storage means that the gun is locked, unloaded, and separated from ammunition. According to researchers from the University of Washington, only 36% of people in our state in gun-owning households practice safe storage. All guns in Washington state should be stored safely and out of the reach of children. Finally, we forget the families and loved ones of those lost to suicide. If you were close to someone who has passed from suicide or gun violence, I see you. If you want to take action, I stand with you. You can support Western students today by signing our petition to ask Western to divest from the gun industry.
Oh, yeah.
This means that we are calling for Western to write into policy that they will not now or ever in the future put our money into stocks that fund the gun industry. You can sign our petition at the QR code on our table over there. To get involved with Students Demand Action, you can text STUDENTS to 64433. Every voice in our movement matters. You've taken important action today by being here, but this cannot be your last act. I want to see each of you texting STUDENTS to 64433, or signing our divestment petition, or getting involved with gun violence prevention in your community today and tomorrow. Thank you all for having me, and as my incredible co-lead of our Students Demand Action chapter often says, his name is Flynn, I'd like to leave you all with this: lead with love. Thank you.
Well, that's been a lot, and gun violence is a lot. But here in Washington State, there is a lot of hope, too. We really lead the nation in laws being passed to protect the people of our state. Because of those laws, Washington is ranked 40th in the nation in gun violence. I predict that in the next year or two, we're going to be 50th, because we have people, lawmakers in our state, who are working hard and who are passing gun laws that are saving lives. This year was the big one, folks. We finally banned the sale of assault weapons in the state of Washington. Our next speaker is really a gun violence prevention superstar. While she was in the House, and now then when she's in the Senate, she was voted for, I think she said, I don't know, maybe all of the laws, but she's someone that we go to regularly because we know she's going to support us, and she is going to save lives with the work that she's doing. Representing the 42nd District, will you please welcome Senator Sharon Shewmake.
All so much for coming out to my neighborhood and joining us on this beautiful day, and I am so glad we are outside because I want to talk about how gun violence, preventing gun violence, is really popular. People don't like it when people shoot people with guns in their neighborhood. It's incredible, I know. But you might wonder then, why don't we adopt more of these evidence-based policies like Washington has that work, that save lives, that make communities feel safer, so you don't have to walk in front of mallards with someone who has a bunch of guns on the side and wonder if you can go outside in your neighborhood anymore. And so in 2018, just to show how popular they were, we had an initiative for safe storage, for raising the age for semi-automatics, for better background checks, and you know what? It got up for 60% of the vote in Whatcom County. Yeah. I killed myself walking doors. I got 50.5%. I wish I was an initiative to prevent gun violence. My job would be a lot easier. 2 years before, in 2016, we had an initiative for extreme risk protection orders. That got 67%. Why aren't politicians doing more of this? Do you want politicians to do more of this? Yeah! This year in the legislature, we banned the sale of assault weapons, but we also passed 8 substantive gun violence prevention laws. Things that prevent background checks, things that prevent loopholes in our background check system, things that may put the liability on a dealer if they sell a gun to someone who shouldn't have it, which is exactly the way it should be. If you're selling guns to people who shouldn't have guns and you know that, you shouldn't be doing that. That is the wrong thing to do, and you should be held accountable for your actions. Yeah! We implemented a 10-day waiting period for all firearm purchases, and we provided people with a course of action when we see these loopholes in the gun dealers. So many of these bills, a few of them were even bipartisan. Most of them came down on party lines. Alex Rammel, one of our other Bellingham representatives, who's right there, he's been a champion. And I want to tell you a story about my seatmate Joe Timmons, who's new to the legislature. When we passed that the assault weapons ban, the Republicans torture us. They make all these ridiculous arguments. They talk about violence. I sometimes feel sick to my stomach when we do the right thing and we protect kids from sexual assault, and you hear all these ridiculous stories from the people who don't believe it. I often have to go on a walk afterwards just to get to my sense of self. Joe comes out of that saying, that's the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. So you have fantastic leaders that want to do the right thing, but that is not enough. We all have a whole bunch of different priorities on our plate. And when the other side is as organized as the gun industry is, then it doesn't matter that you get 67% of the vote of people coming out and wanting to see these actions. You have to make sure that we all know this is your top priority. This is incredibly important to you. And if we don't do this, if we don't act on gun violence, then you're not going to support us. You're going to sit home in this next election. Please don't do that. But your vote, you are going to be an engaged volunteer. You're going to be an engaged voter, and you care so much about gun violence. Because let me tell you one thing is, my story is I never thought I'd run for office. I'm an economist. I love public policy. I'm most happy looking at a bunch of data in a nerdy dark room and talking to people about second derivatives. I only ran in 2018 because my issue was climate change. The guy that was running there thought climate change wasn't real, and I was like, man, if you're lying to me about that, what else are you not telling me the truth on? And so we do so much stuff in Olympia that's really hard to know about. But when you do know about something like gun violence, when we communicate to you, these are the bills that we're looking forward, you've got to show up. Democracy is not a spectator sport, and every single one of you is way more powerful than you realize. Whether you're elected or not elected, whether you're gonna help get Tank elected, a sheriff, we'll have law enforcement that really wants to enforce gun laws and make sure that people are being safe with their firearms. This is critically important. And so I would just want to hear some shoots and hollers for how much we all want to vote, get other people to vote, and be engaged in this incredible democratic process, and hold my own feet to the fire.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Wow, that was great. Next, right? Yes. Next, we have one of the members of our group who wrote a poem that she would love to read. Originally, we were going to sing it, but she's just going to read it now. So would you all welcome Gail Warren?
Share with you that whenever I'm upset, or not whenever, but sometimes when I'm upset or distracted and just about issues that are going on, I write a little ditty or a poem or something for myself. Basically, it's always for myself only, and to a little tune of something, happy birthday or whatever I want to do, and then I sing it to myself, and it just kind of helps me face what I'm dealing with. And so I wrote this poem about guns, and the Alliance for Gun Responsibility their theme is kind of marching forward, so I named it Marching Forward. And it can be sung to Blowing in the Wind, but I'm not going to sing it, thank you. It's, how many guns does this nation need before our hearts turn round right? Guns that are made to kill people fast. Keep grieving ones out of sight. Our hearts can change when we face who we've been. God calls us to another way. Step by step with love, marching forward, we win. Marching forward with love, we can win.
Thank you, Gail. Gail's kind of a superstar also. I'm just going to call her out. Gail holds the record for Washington State for getting the most signatures for any gun violence prevention initially to me of why we have events like this. When bad things happen, when people are hurting and suffering, we need to get together in community. We reach out for each other. And we look at each other and we say, we're okay, right? Everything's fine. But everything is not okay right now. But it can be. Every one of us has one piece of this gun violence epidemic. We're responsible for our own piece of it. But we also all have a piece of the key to the solution. If you leave here today, I would just like you to leave with this one thing. The best way to honor victims of gun violence is to not make any more. But it's going to take all of us, and that's not hard. Together, we can end gun violence. I would like everyone to just repeat that with me, please. Together, we can end gun violence. Just one more time. I want them to hear us in Sumas. Come on. Together, we can end gun violence. Thank you. We have representatives here from Students Demand Action, the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, Grandmothers Against Gun Violence, and my personal favorite, Moms Demand Action. I would ask each and every one of you to sign up for at least one of these groups. And what would that look like? It would look like they would call you at some point and maybe ask you to put on an orange shirt and get on a bus and go down to Olympia, because we're doing that this year, folks. We are doing that this year. But the only way you're going to get on the bus is if you sign up. And what would that feel like? I will tell you, it feels empowering to be able to go and hold your representatives' feet to the fire, but also to look the gun lobby in the face and say, be gone. Yeah. You have no power here anymore. Thank you all for coming. Sign up, but please go eat some food. We have so much food. Everybody needs to go get a sandwich, some chips, and one last time, Havilah.
Thank you so much to Liz Hjelmseth, I hope I'm saying that right, for putting this together. This is so encouraging to be together, right? This last song I originally had written about climate change, but the sentiment is the same, that when we come together and we believe in the power of connection and we put each other ahead of our own selfish desire for material wealth or guns or money or whatever it is, when we put the safety of our children and ourselves and our planet first. I'm just going to tune a little bit. We can move mountains. There is a sing-along at the end, and it's Don't Give Up on This Love. So when you hear it and you hear the way that I sing it, just sing that part that way. Just repeat it over and over, and then I'll do all these. Hopefully I'll pull off a couple weird things over the top. We'll see how it goes. It'll be a jam. We're going to jam it out with love. Oil in the water, oil on the soil, all dripping from the horse, sleeping in the stable. A river of heartache, trail of tears. If we give up on this love, we've been out for 1,000 years. Blood in the water, blood on the soil, blood dripping from the horse, breaking out of the stable, trading off for blood, an eye for an eye. If we give up on this love, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Wake up from the deep sleep. The only enemy, the fear of the unknown. We're all the same inside. We're never alone. Don't give up on this love. Don't give up on this love. Don't give up on this love. So put your hand in mine. Look that savage beast right in the eye. 'Cause our truth won't be denied. It's the river that carries through to the other side. Oh, oh, oh. Here we go. Don't give up on this love. Don't give up on this love. That's it. Don't give up on this love. Don't give up on this love. Just keep going. Don't give up on this love. 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 I don't hear you. Don't give up on this love. 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 Thank you everyone for being here, and let's all take action today and spread the word.